order the Horry County Solid Waste Authority regular meeting, Monday, August 27th, 2018 at 2 p.m. Ms. Screech, would you please give us the invocation?
Yes, please. If you'll bow your heads. Lord, we just want to come before you today and tell you how much we do appreciate you being with us every minute of every day. Throughout this year, we'd like to ask you to be with us today as we discuss the Solid Waste Authority business and help us make the decisions that are the best for the public and for the Solid Waste Authority in this county. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Johnson, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Please stand. I pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I need to get an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Properly moved and second. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. The motion, the agenda is approved. I also need to get the approval of the minutes for July 24th, 2018 regular meeting.
So move.
Second.
And properly second. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Ayes have it. We have a request for public input for Ms. Amelia Woods, and I think it's general comments, and we will stick to the 5-minute
Okay,
segment this time.
Okay, I
You
can
will-
do that.
You will be notified when you have 1 minute left.
okay, I'm not even gonna, I didn't bring my notes, I'm not
Did-
even gonna finish reading to you, I'll let you read it yourself. But, I just wanted to speak, mainly to the people, and here are a couple of board members that really don't know me very well, and try to explain to you why solid waste is an important issue to me. And, I'll try to be brief, but, I've been interested in environmental issues for a long time. I grew up near the beach, and how can you live near the beach and go out and participate in outdoor activities and not care about the environment? But anyway, after I went to college, I was in college on the very first Earth Day, and that had a big influence on me. And I graduated from the University of Maryland, and while I was there, it was the time when they were doing gas rationing and energy conservation, water conservation. All those issues were very important on campus, and it just kind of was ingrained in me about the importance of those things. Then later on, when I started my teaching career, I think my principal may have realized that I was interested in environmental issues, because I had this I probably had the best looking recycling box of anybody. This was back before the Solid Waste Authority gave everybody a little box to put their recyclables in, a plastic bin. And I took a cardboard box and I decorated it, and I got a little public service announcement I cut out of one of the magazines on from the Environmental Defense Fund. It had a picture of the Earth from space, and under it, it said, "If you're not recycling, you're throwing it all away." And I laminated that little picture, and I put it on my recycling box along with some pictures from my husband's South Carolina Wildlife magazine. And I just had, so my principal thought, well, she's really interested in environmental issues. So she assigned me to teach an exploratory class in ecology. And I started doing that. And then she got a little letter from South Carolina DHEC saying that they had some money that they were going to give teachers if they applied for grants. And so she sent me the letter and told me this is what she wanted me to do, and that's what I did. And lucky for me, I was the only teacher in Erie County that applied for the grant the first year it was offered, and they were offering the whole county $10,000, and I got the whole $10,000 to spend for my school. And so that allowed me to collect a few feathers for my cap. And I also learned a lot, because whenever you teach about anything, I guarantee you're going to learn something about it. And so I started learning a lot about solid waste issues because I had a grant that I had to teach about certain things in order to keep that grant. And so I started bringing my students out to the Solid Waste Authority for tours, and just started a little environmental club at the school called the SOAP Club, and that's SOAPP, and that stands for Saving Our Awesome Palmetto Places. And so we did that, and I just got this was in about 1994, I got very interested in what was going on at the Solid Waste Authority. And that was the beginning of my interest, and I have continued to be interested in it since then. And so I just wanted to kind of give y'all a little background on why I was interested. And so I'll stop talking now, and maybe we can carry on this conversation later. But I do appreciate the friendship of everybody here, and I regret that I did not have time to get to the positive comments that I had to make a few minutes ago. And so maybe y'all can read those and share them with staff members. I do think that the Solid Waste Authority has a fine staff that really tries hard to do everything, all the tasks that are assigned to them. And once again, I value everybody's friendship here, and we're all in this together. And so I hope you'll be willing to continue to listen to my suggestions, because it really means a lot to me. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. It's good to have people like yourself that's really have an interest in the environment. We appreciate that. Maybe if we had more people involved with environmental concerns, we wouldn't have so many plastic bags floating up and down the road. But thank you for your comments.
That's what I wanted to say. For those of you who haven't been here, Amelia Wood has done a lot of recycling, a lot of work. She's very good at what she does. So many times I have regretted that we haven't had people here at our public input and to interact with us. So I really do appreciate you being here.
Any other comments? Great, thank you. We'll move on to department reports, recycling and corporate affairs. Ms. Murphy?
Good afternoon.
Good
Afternoon.
afternoon.
My report begins on page 15. I'm going to begin with an update on our 2018-2019 Talking Trash campaign. During the month of August, we did receive proposals from 5 groups to partner with us this year on Talking Trash. Our review committee consisted of myself, Mrs. Victoria Johnson, Mrs. Kendra Hooks, Mr. Jeff Mishu, and Mr. Jamie Suggs. After we met with each group individually and they presented their proposal, we individually reviewed the proposals and then met as a group and determined, based on what was submitted, that WBTW MotionWorks Multimedia offered the best proposal for this year's campaign, and it was approved by Mr. Knight and subsequently awarded to BTW MotionWorks Multimedia. Our campaign officially starts on October 1st, but you should begin seeing some things airing in the next week or so. We'll have some pre-events going on, not only at the schools, but at WBTW stations. So just be on the lookout for those things that are upcoming. We're excited about we're hopeful for another successful year of Talking Trash. And those teachers that we have been talking to are also very excited about the upcoming year. The next update I want to give you is on our Solid Waste Authority recycling grant. This is the grant that was recently approved in the 2019 budget. Just wanted to give you some information on how we've sent this information out to publicize it to those who may be interested. We did directly contact every municipality as well as the school district and Coastal Carolina University to let them know it was available. In addition, an ad was run in 4 or 5 local newspapers over the past month, and the same flyer that's in your packet will be sent to all Solid Waste Authority customers in the next billing cycle. So, as well as the information being on our website and Facebook page. So, and on the county website, trying to think, it's everywhere, which is good. We did receive one application in from the town of Surfside Beach, which was reviewed by that review committee, which consists of Mr. Knight, Ms. Bidding, Mr. Besson, and myself. It was forwarded to the Recycling and Corporate Affairs Committee, and that will come before the board later on this afternoon in that report. But we have heard verbally from some of the municipalities who have expressed interest and indicated that they would also be filling out an application and submitting it for consideration. So we're hopeful, looking forward to that to come in. Our recycling center of the quarter ending June 30, was the Jackson Bluff Recycling Center. Miss Amy Swafford is pictured in your packet. She works there along with Mr. Larry Buckingham and Mr. Bill Smith. They do an excellent job, very dedicated employees, and it's definitely shown in the site as well as through their actions. Last but certainly not least, our Clock Green Handed update for the month of July. Excuse me. We were at the Longs Recycling Center when we met with Miss Stephanie Igo. She was excited, even though you can't tell from her picture. She was very excited. She, some people, we don't try to scare people, but I think some people are taken aback when we say, "Hey, we caught you." And they, why? So, but once they understand it was a good catch, everybody's usually pretty excited about being recognized, and she was just that. And unless you have any questions, that's my report.
Esther, I'd like to say what a great decision you made on selecting Jackson Bluff Recycling Center. I only live about a mile from there, and that's the center that I use.
Yes, sir.
And it is clean, it's well organized, and people are very, very friendly. Apparently, they must feel sorry for me because of my age or whatever else, but they always come up and ask me, "Can I help you?" And I basically let them know that I'm probably beyond help. And but that was they're very nice people over
I'm
there,
glad
and it's clean, neat, whatever else. So
We appreciate that.
good
Let them know.
decision.
Thank you.
Esther, I just wanted to mention that Keep Horry County Beautiful is going to be doing our tarp giveaway again.
Okay.
So we'll be coordinating with you on handing them out at the convenience center.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be consulting you on a schedule for doing that, but it's going to
Okay.
be similar to last year,
Yes.
Saturday evenings.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
And we
very
like to
good.
use the same locations, because this year we want to measure the response and see how many tarps are coming back that were handed out last year.
Okay, very good. Well, we'll look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance, ready?
Good afternoon. Financial reports begin on page 25. We're looking at the first month of the new year. And for that first month, of course, we should be at about 8.33% of our budget. Just looking at our tipping fees, as you can see, we're seeing a little over 6% increase over last year for the same time period. So that's looking good, definitely with our tipping fees, that we're running ahead of where we were last year. As you can see in the middle of the page, our solid waste is at 11.35% of budget, so it's running well ahead. Our mixed construction at 7.98% of budget, so it's just slightly below, and our yard waste at 9.51% of budget, so it's also running ahead of budget. So we're doing quite well, of course, with our tipping fees. As you can see, our recyclable sales are down just slightly at 7.33% of budget. And as you can see, our C&D processing facility revenue year-to-date is $37,050.62, with our expenses being $31,274.62. So we do have revenue over expenses of $5,776, and it saved a little over 4.5 days of landfill airspace so far in 1 month. Our materials recycling facility with the collection and hauling program Revenue year-to-date, $403,322.40. Our expenses being $280,502.65. So they're seeing revenue over expenses of $122,819.75. And as you can see, they've saved almost 6 days of landfill airspace in 1 month. So doing a great job of, like I said, of saving the landfill airspace. Over on page 27, take a look at the income statement. As you can see, like I said, we are just looking at the first month, and our first month is usually very lean. Staff always does a very good job of maintaining their expenses. But as you can see, our revenue is at 8.83% of budget, and our expenses are only at 6.17% of budget. So like I said, staff can, we always start really good. And like I said, they continue to do a good job throughout the year. But like I said, so far, as you can see, month to date and year to date, we have revenue over expenses of $727,080.94. So that's definitely very positive. Over on page, I'm sorry, page 31. I was just going to take a look at where we are with some of our tonnages, just to kind of show you where we were as compared to last year this same time. Solid waste is up 7.47% compared to last year. Our yard waste is up 37.35%, which is quite impressive. And then our mixed construction is just down slightly, like I said, at the 5.68% compared to last year this same time. So we'll hopefully we'll see that start to creep back up, with the construction, like I said, picking back up, and so hopefully we'll see that continue to go up. Going to jump over to the MRF reports, which are over on page 39. As you can see, the average price for the month is $136.38. Just to give you a comparison, last year this same time, our average price was $246.09. So we've seen about $100 per ton decrease in last year this same time. Our revenue from the sale of the material, as you can see, is $335,324.57. There was a cost share due from Charleston of $22,348.61, bringing the total revenue for the month $357,673.18, with our total expenses for the month of $186,915.09, which gives us revenue over expenses for the month of $170,758.09. I'm going to let Mike kind of talk to you when he comes up to give a MRF update about where we are with the prices, where we are with the sales as well. Like I said, if you don't have any other questions, the only other note I have is we do have our audit starting. He'll be here September 10th, so we will have that beginning, and of course we will have an update from him in October when he finalizes all the reports. Of course, we did have a new OPEB study that was done this year, so he'll have that to report on. There's some new GASB reporting that he'll also be going over with you.
Okay, thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions? Okay, thank you. Operations, Mr. Besley?
First, I want to talk a little bit about collections and hauling, give you an idea of all the collection and hauling from last year to this year in July. Last year, for July period, we did about 522 tons of material brought in by our collection and hauling department. And this month we did, this year in July, we did 864 tons, which is a 60% increase in incoming tons brought into by the collection and hauling department. So they've got a lot more on their plate, been a 60% increase in material coming in. I want to talk a little bit about pricing. We pulled a report to look at wanted to see what we were compared to national averages for material. And what the Resource Recycling magazine is saying is that the average price as of August the 14th for cardboard is the national average is $70.63. We're selling it for $114.15. Sorted office paper is going for $199 a ton, which is the national average, and we're selling it at $245. PET, Pepsi bottles, is national average is 16.71, and we're selling it for 18.19, a little over 18 cents a pound. HDPE, the national average is 38.81 cents, and we're selling it for 43 cents. HDPE colored, which is your colored HDPE, the national average is 14.56 cents per pound, and we're selling it for 17.25 cents per pound. So we're substantially higher than what the national average is, which is good. Our driver of the month, Jeffrey Alford, works for Go Green, which most of you may know the owner of Go Green, which is Paul King. He was the driver of the month. He was selected by the people working on the landfill. He said he didn't have much hobbies except working, so, it's a good hobby for some people. The C&D recycling facility, we did a small upgrade on it to try to be able to get more material into the facility, to be able to store more material, and also DHEC was giving us a problem about when we had so much overrun that we were setting it on the ground, waiting to get it up under the shed, and that we built this concrete pad and some good walls around it to be able to stack some more up under there. And we did that. We took some of the money that was utilized in the yard waste budget for concrete and moved the concrete over here, just only a portion of it, try to increase. Give you an example. Normally we take in right around 1,300 tons a month for material. So far this month, and for 3 or 4 days in the first part of the month, we're not able to use it because we were building the walls, the concrete walls and stuff, and didn't fully be able to utilize it like we should. But we had 1,380 tons as of through last Friday. So we still got 5 days left in the month. So we think we'll get a good 1,600 tons coming in over there this month, which will be the highest yet that it's ever received. Our goal is to always have material on the floor, never have it empty, so the plant can run. Next thing. And you can see, if you want to look at the picture, you can see the concrete wall where we extended it out over on the left. We extended it out and built an 8-foot concrete wall around it. And now you can see how much bigger it is. It's not up under the part up that's not up under the shed. We put it on the 8-foot walls and then came on the side where we had it before. And it's allowed us to stack material higher and more efficient in the plant.
Do you have plans in the future of expanding the shed?
We won't have to expand the shed. We're using that basically for runover projects. If we start, because of our solid waste management permit, if we start storing it there for any length of time, we will have to put a shed over it. We'll have to put a shed over the top of it.
Okay, good, thank you.
We do have plans to try to increase the production going through there. So either through an upgrade in machinery or an additional machinery to try to get more material to go through there. All right, what's the next thing? Cecil?
Before you get to household hazardous waste, Mike, we had 2 inspections this past month from China and from India. Give us a report of what they discovered.
We had 2 people come in from India that wanted to inspect our material. The purpose of the meeting was and visit was that they had bought 1,000 ton of our material, and they couldn't understand how a single stream MRF is a bad name anymore in the industry. They like dual stream MRFs, which is what we were before we built this MRF. So that just tells you how time changes and things evolve. But the reason they wanted to see our process and what we did in order to make it work. And they really liked our plant, and their last words they said to me before we walked out of the door, we want 1,000 tons next month too. And I said, money or we'll buy it. So they did, they praised us. And then we also had a meeting from China as well, that we had a meeting, they came in and gave us an excellent rating. However, sometimes we don't necessarily sell to China because of all the restrictions and things they have in place, because they want a inspector on site as long as you load containers or trucks, that they want an inspector on site. But it's basically got to do with how much money is being offered to send it to China versus Indonesia or India or Central America, or we are hearing currently in this coming month, we'll be sending some to Vietnam.
And you told me they didn't stop at just inspecting the bales, but they cut open several bales to inspect them.
They did. They cut up over several bales, and it's kind of funny when this guy from China cut it open. He said, "I was expecting it to be contaminated on the inside, not look like what it was on the outside." Because a lot on the outside you can pick off where it looks kind of good, but when you open them up, that tells the story.
The future is a more challenging market, and we're rising to the occasion. Keep it up.
Yeah. Well, it's tough. It takes labor and time and effort to do it. I think we have a good reputation in the market. We want to continue to keep that reputation because we won't be able to get rid of the material. You know, not saying we won't ever have to do it, but there's a lot of MRFs landfilling it. You know, they bale it, they process it, can't get rid of it, and they landfill it. Because after a while, the paper starts to deteriorate, especially if it's got any kind of moisture in it. It'll start deteriorating, so you definitely need to get rid of it.
Keep reporting those things. It's good to know how we're perceived outside.
Yeah, first of all, my compliments on being above average, but there's no supply there. We expect that out of you, and you always deliver it. My question is this, if that's the average and we're above the average, what's the top? And what would it take for us to be the top if we're not, and how can this board help you achieve that?
Well, we're hoping, we think we want to say pretty good that we're pretty close to the top, but we're not there yet. The guys from India told me, your paper too high. Even though the quality was good, your paper too high. So everybody was bidding on it and wanting it, so that's a good thing when they start fighting over it. But, you know, I think one of the best things we're going to do in the next coming months is to upgrade the MRF. We got an RFQ on the street for companies to qualify to give us pricing to upgrade our MRF. And as we go through it, I think that'll move us to the next step, the next level as we go through that process to make sure that our quality of our materials better, our output's better, and hopefully save us some money in the long haul, because as we see prices come down, we need to try to bring costs down as much as we can.
That is one thing I wanted to say. I really appreciate that y'all do and the work that you put into that, because so many times other people that pick up recyclables, as we've seen in the news, throw it in their landfill. They don't really recycle it. And I don't want us to ever get to the point that we package things and put it there, because the airspace that you save that's what is meaningful to me when you do that. So when you're at conventions or you're looking at new equipment, if there's anything we can do or buy to make sure that we don't ever have to do that, hopefully, let us know so that we can look at those policies and that equipment.
Mike, are you finding that you're finding more markets now that you're sending less to China? Are there more markets opening up for us?
Well, what we're finding is, and I think it's got to do with the quality of our product that we're putting out. I mean, we've got 3 new bidders in just the last week alone. You know, of course, when I was in Nashville, I was talking to people, and y'all were too, and spreading the word around. But we got 2 calls last Friday about wanting to be on our bid list. So the more people we can get involved, the more bidding we have to do it. And let me say it, and I've said it again, and say it again, is it takes a team effort at that MRF. It's no one person. It's a lot of gray hair goes in over there. Rodney, Richie, Jan, everybody. There's a lot of effort put in to make sure that thing works, and that's the reason it's working.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions for Mike? All right, thanks a lot. Danny, I guess you up.
Downtown, when you get all those attaboys, it was kind of a vote of confidence, which is sometimes didn't work out good. But my statement, my report is mostly gonna be on what we learned, in Nashville. It was China, China, China. It's whether China was gonna open back up or they weren't. Everybody's belief is China's where they are and it's not gonna get much better. Waste Connections, executive director spoke. I think it was about 90% of their material was going to China, and now it's less than 5% going to China. His view is going to be, there's going to be less recyclable material because they can't get rid of it. And it's going to cost more money to recycle. And whether you were talking to people about trying to get rid of their recyclables, then the equipment people were telling you how good their equipment was to get you to where China would take it. The next point, and of course that's affected us too. Next point was employees. How do you get the employees? Where do you get the workers? And a lot of the workshops was based on the millennials, the younger people, how you approach them, how you set up networks to get them to participate more. And that's going to be a challenge for non-millennial folks with white hair or no hair. So that's an issue in our industry. But we are hearing some good things. Procter & Gamble was on the program, and they are going. Their theme and their whole corporation is packaging, and I think it's going to get to where people in that size with that much impact on the industry is going to tell the Sunoco's and those type people, this is what we want. We're not going to buy anything that's not any way. I think it was Kroger now that's going bagless. So sometimes you can push an issue from the grassroots up, but it's so much easier when Walmart or the coffee places say enough's enough. But it's going to cost more. And I think, as Mike says, our request for qualifications is on the street. And basically, what we're going to do is invite everybody to send us their, as I call it, their propaganda, their colorful books and what they do and how great they are. We'll select 3 to really start talking with. And then they will give us a price on what they can do or what they can do for the amount of budget that we have. And the kicker on the way we're putting it together, if they guarantee you so much on coming in on the front end and guarantee a percentage on the back end, that retainage will be held to that back end gets up to where they said it was. So, excuse me, but we're looking forward to that process, and it's going to be looking at output, how much we can save, safety factors, maintenance side of it, and all that is going to come into play. And as Mike says, we got a good group that's working the MRF in that process. So, and it's good to hear that we way above national averages on something in Overy County. So that's pretty much all. Now, some of the board members that went be more than happy to hear those comments.
I think one of the keynote speakers when they had the focus group and the discussion was Procter & Gamble. And I was thrilled to see that they were doing what I would like to see done, and that is be responsible from the time they make it until the time it's landfilled. And what they really don't want to do is landfill it. They want to pay for theirs, they want to be responsible for it, they want to know where it goes. They've looked at the biodegradable and the compostable, and they don't like that anymore because they're finding out people are littering and saying, well, I'll just throw it out beside the road and it'll compost or it'll biodegrade. Well, it doesn't do that. It also doesn't really do that in a landfill very well. But they have really surprisingly stepped up and said, they're even doing research on taking the toxins out of the different plastics that they are using to make the bottles they're doing, and to make sure everything they have is going to be recyclable within a certain number of years. So I admire Procter & Gamble for doing that, and for doing the research and spending the money and admitting they have a problem and trying to solve it. And I just wish every large group would do that, because if it did, it would help us tremendously. They also did discuss making what they have, if they could not use it, and bring it back around and redo it for it to be recyclable within the means that we have today. And to me, that's what's going to matter on saving landfill space. That's going to be the biggest thing we have. It's also going to help us make money and to keep up the projects we need to do, and not lose the amount of money we need for our post-closure and closure. So I was really impressed with Procter & Gamble. That was, to me, the biggest thing that I heard at that convention.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to echo, too, the Procter & Gamble's pronouncements were the highlight, I thought, because producers are in the game now. I was also disappointed in Procter & Gamble. They said that their consumers expect red containers and blue containers of their products, that every time they recycle it gets grayer. Well, guess what? I'm ready to accept products in gray containers. Just put your red label on it. And I think they're dumbing down on what they believe consumers expect. And I think they need to remove that roadblock from their vision. I wanted to add another note here locally, is that the Chirping Bird Society and the Plastic Free Myrtle Beach achieved their goal of having 300 restaurants participate in their Strawless Summer, and they reached it 3 weeks ago. They realized a lot of the restaurants that made the commitment to ask first before they automatically put a straw in your drink, they're relapsing and going back to their old ways. So they're going to rebrand their Strawless Summer into something that's annual, so that they can continue the effort and continue to remind restaurants to do that. That's a very small effort, but it's a very visible effort that makes people understand the complexion of the problem. And I congratulate both the Chirping Bird Society and Plastic Free Myrtle Beach for their initiative. It's hugely successful this summer, and I think they worked hard, and it's neat to see achievement like that. Thank you.
I will say, just to the red and the gray, having worked in statistics and doing focal groups for Listerine and BIC and whatever, they've done the focus group, and evidently we consumers will buy more red plastic bottles than we will gray. So that falls to the education. As you said, you're willing to do that. A lot of people, that really is a subconscious thing. So when you see colors or words or certain things, they know they're going to sell a third more of their product, and hopefully we as consumers will get past that.
Yeah, I think one thing that I saw with the domino effect is that by not being able to ship stuff to China, it is going to cause us to start looking at more facilities within our own borders to recycle materials. And what I mean by domino effects, that's when people like P&G get involved, because they're going to have to produce a product which is recyclable, which will make some of the things that Danny talked about. Employment is going to require more people to be trained and be employable through the solid waste facilities. And so it looks like while China was main topic. It is causing us to begin to refocus and look at some things that we need to do both in Canada and in the U.S. And the other thing they stressed a lot was the safety aspect. Is that because according to them, solid waste facilities are number 5 in the nation as far as fatalities and that kind of thing. So I applaud us for keeping such a good safety record, because according to a lot of people I've talked to, they're having a lot of problems with safety. So, but I thought the conference, again, the P&G and the domino effect kind of tied in, and I won't go into some of the other ones, but it was pretty good. And I think I prefer red over gray.
One of the other things that was discussed in one of those, and so many times, necessity makes us get very good at working things out better. Thought and discussion was, if everybody, every city, every county had to handle their own solid waste, you would start seeing mandates. That we are having a hard time achieving on our local level, on our state level, and on our federal level. But if you made each area handle what they had, they couldn't do that without the mandates. So in ways, whatever it is, whether it's good or bad on some things, it makes us get more imaginative, and it gives our local governments more incentive. If you had to do something and it had to be here, it gives you a lot more incentive to come up with real solutions and not kick the can down the road, which I think is good.
Okay, any more comments? All right, thank you. We'll move on to committee reports. We have Operations and Planning Committee meeting that was held on the 13th of August, and we'll hear from Mr. Campbell.
We had a good meeting. It covered several subjects. One was the collection and hauling. They needed a new front-end loader and a new rear-end loader. Mike presented the numbers to us, and we recommend that they go ahead and purchase both trucks. So I feel sure that that has been done or in the process. The other thing we discussed was the storage building, and we talked about enclosing the storage building. It's a 3-sided building, and we talked about enclosing it completely. And Mr. Bessent he has asked several contractors for numbers on enclosing the building completely, and I think, have you heard from any of them, Mr. Bessent?
No, sir, we are awaiting the pricing back from the buildings, and once we get the pricing back, then we're gonna have to try to locate the funds. So we'll be in the middle of all of that before we bring it back to committee.
And looking for that to happen pretty shortly, I would think.
We're working with it as fast as the contractors will give us the information.
Yes. Also, we discussed the RFQ, and in our notes here, says that the RFQ was due back October the 14th, but it's September the 14th that it's coming back rather than
September
October.
the 14th.
Right. And we discussed the Charleston contract, and at that time, we had not heard anything from the Charleston contract, but Mr. Knight, we have heard something since then, correct?
Yes, sir, I put the letter in front of you. And I think next week, we will just go down and sit down and talk to Charleston face to face and try to figure out what their plan is and what they want to do. And of course, looks like they gave us 30 days to respond. So I would like to sit across the table with them and talk with them, and we'll let you know how that goes.
That would be very constructive, Danny, to have a face-to-face conversation with them rather than just transfer letters. Thank you for initiating that.
Penmanship is not going as well as expected.
Okay. Also, the Charleston contract, like Danny said, they gave us 30 days, so we got till September the 20th, I think, to respond and give them a contract, or give them our information back.
That's not the way I see it. We got till we get ready to give it back to them, and we can't give it back to them till Mike gets his information in. That was a request for 30 days, but that's up to us when they get that back. Am I correct?
I think so. I think sitting down and we can get a little better handle on what they expect or what they want to hear or whatever.
I mean, I think they're doing exactly what we would be doing. They're gathering all the information they can to do the best they can for their city, and we're doing the same thing here. But the 30 days is in no way binding to us.
That's it. We had a good meeting.
Mr. Chairman, we need a motion on the floor
I-
for
I
approval
was
to purchase the
gonna make-
front loader
Right.
truck.
Okay. Did I get a motion for that?
I make the
Did
motion.
you make it in the form of a motion, Mike?
Yes,
front-
make it in
okay.
form of a motion on the trucks.
Can I get a second?
I second.
It's been properly moved in second. Are there any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Okay, so Mike can buy his truck. Any other comments from any of the other members of the committee? You got a comment you want to make anyway?
I do, but I'm not a member of the committee.
We'll listen. We're good. Boy, that hand is fast.
It's
Go
really
ahead.
quick. When, as Mr. Jones said, until some information and different things we have as far as storage, and y'all had talked about redoing some of the equipment and whatever, until all of that information gets in and the cost and whatever, I guess you would need all that information before you actually finished your negotiations with Charleston.
Yeah, we're waiting on some information from Mike as far as the enclosure of the storage. So I think Danny going down, talking to them face to face will give him a better insight of where they are. And in the meantime, we'll be getting the information together. But I agree with, Norfleet. We have to have all our ducks in a row. And if we get those in 30 days, well, if we don't, you know, I don't know when you sent that letter, but it took them, 90 days to talk back to us. So I don't want to be put under the pressure of trying to rush some information. I'd like to have the best information possible.
Well, right this moment, I don't feel any pressure.
Boy, that's new. We need a mark. Well, let's put a star by that one. Danny doesn't feel any pressure. Good. Well, we're in a good one. All right, that's a good one. Anything else, Mike? No,
that's
we're
fine.
good. All right. Well, now we'll have Recycling and Corporate Affairs Committee meeting. They also held that meeting on the 13th. And Mr. Swarthmore?
Yes, as chairman of the committee, I got Pam Creech and Bo Ives, who've got a substantial amount of time and experience in that department, so I feel very good as chairman of that because I can just turn the ball over to them, let them run, and they're not going to drop it. But the main thing that we accomplished at that meeting was we approved the grant that to Surfside Beach for their recycling grant application, and had a discussion on how we can get other people to encourage and participate in it. And we also spent a fair amount of time talking about the environmental law project letter that we received, and realized that there's also a fair amount of public information that we need to get out. We need to work with the legislatures and trying to get them to understand the importance of some of these recycling projects, and we're in the process of trying to increase our awareness and participation with members of the delegation to get a more favorable vote from them and their action in upcoming legislative sessions. The reports are on page 64 and 65 in your book, and I'm not going to insult your intelligence by reading it to you, knowing that you all can read and you've got an appropriate comprehension level, so in your free time, I know that you will do so.
Thank you, Carl.
That's it.
Thank you for that vote of confidence and that we'll be able to read and that you can get out of not saying anything. Yeah, we're gonna get the motion. We hadn't forgot him. I just wanted to respond to Carl then and see if anybody else had anything else to say.
I just want everyone to know that Carl was a teacher at Coastal, and there will be a test in case you don't read that.
How you know we haven't already read it? But anyway, we read it up front so we'll know what you're talking about. So we do need a motion for the Surfside.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved in seconds. Are there any questions? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The motion is carried. Let me ask you, the recycling group, a question. I noticed that we sent out information to a lot of places. My question is, and I think Carl may have alluded to it earlier, do we not have any contact over at Ori Georgetown Tech as far as what they do with recycling? Because they have the culinary arts kitchen, they have a new thing over on the beach, and so they do a lot of food preparations and discording of stuff. Is there not someone there that we could talk to?
Well, inasmuch as two members sitting around this table are former, received a paycheck for them for many, many decades, I think that the chairman of the Solid Waste Board and one of the members could probably form a committee of two and approach them and have a in-depth discussion with them and encourage them to participate.
I second that.
Well,
I didn't make it an emotion.
He didn't make it an emotion, so we're not gonna put that in the motion. You tried to sneak that one in there, but that's not gonna fly. But I see that you did work at Tech because you were really cunning of trying to switch that. But that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I do think that we need to contact them, and I don't know about Millamont Tech. I don't know what they do. I don't know if they serve any foods, but I noticed
No,
that
they don't, but-
but I know we have Coastal in there. And I feel amiss if we don't actually get Tech involved.
We had an
And-
initiative last year to
Yeah.
contact the sheriff about J. Reuben Long participating in
Yeah,
our
okay.
food program. But we need to contact the hospitals. They're
Yeah.
the next natural target, if you will, for.
Yeah, and I think I've got
joining
some
a group.
information. When I was on the recycling committee last time, I do have a contact for the hospital, for Conway Hospital I do. I do not have one for Myrtle Beach. But I will get with Carl and we will contact Ori Georgetown Tech and see if there's something we can do there.
That's a good thing, because we do need to add that, because what we need to remember is as many places as we can get to take their wet waste, their food waste out of their stream. There's like 38% when we did the study of what we actually have in the landfill that we have the potential to recycle of what we already have today. And one of the main things toward that potential is getting the wet waste out of that. And if we can do it with another university and the sheriff and the hospitals
And McLeod is
and
another hospital we
McLeod,
need.
the medical
McLeod's,
people, then that will automatically give us more recyclables, because that wet waste will not contaminate it. So we really need to pursue that.
Okay.
Did you say J. Reuben was contacted or suggested?
Suggested.
Suggested.
That's all I had. Anything else? Okay. Thank you. On the old business, we have the solid waste plan update. Do we need to go back through? You got something else you want to tell us, Mike?
There's a resolution in the package that we just need if the board wishes to approve it, to move it forward on to county council. Once we get just sort of give you an idea of what we do with we got to finish getting all the resolutions from the cities, and then and the county, and then we put all the resolutions in there in the board's resolution, sending it to county council, and then once all that's done and all that's put together in a nice neat package and all the minutes are in it, we ship it to DHEC.
Okay, did we not make a motion earlier
I made a motion earlier, but did not include the language that's in this one.
Okay.
Which is it be forwarded to county council with the resolution requesting approval of the updated plan. So I might just, basically, if you'll allow me to amend my motion to include the citation, that we include the forwarding of a resolution to Horry County Council requesting approval of the updated plan to my initial motion.
I think that's good. Do we need to,
Second it, second
just
it.
for a second, okay. Everybody agree on the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Hearing none, the amendment is incorporated with the formal motion. Thank you. Thanks, Mike. New business roundtable discussion? Anything that we need to discuss?
So,
Bo, I see you coming in and out. I know it's something you're looking for.
We have had a discussion about submitting a letter to DHEC requesting an NOC and our intentions to increase the capacity of our landfill. And is it time yet for a motion of the board to support the application so that we might send that NOC certification to DHEC to begin our process? I think I'd like to make the motion that we begin that process, since we basically so far have given staff basically a notice of intent, and now we need to follow through with action. And we should proceed with that letter for DHEC's consent.
Is that a form of a memo?
Motion to submit to DHEC the application notice, the NOC that's required before we proceed any further. Notice of certification.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Are there any questions? All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Nays? The motion is carried. So we will send that letter of notification. Okay. Anything else for discussion? Mom's word. Okay, well, I don't think we have an executive session that's required, so I will take a,
Move for adjournment.
for adjournment. So move.
Thank you.